Connecting to cloud server. Okay, it's recording now. Good morning, everyone. We have quite a few participants already. Thanks again for joining on Saturday morning. It's not easy at all after a long week of work, but it shows commitment. So let's start the session. In the first session, we covered the basics of IAC, DevOps, how did this come up, all the concepts of IAC, and little glimpses of Ansible. So in this session, this is like more structured. First one is more of like a glimpses kind, trailer kind. This will be more structured. Let me put it in the full mode. Okay, so this was started by testing and DevOps groups, started by Kaja, this guy here, my friend. So that's a good thing. He's planning lots of sessions. So if you have any ideas, you can talk to him. And this is the team that started this TDG meetup group: Rakesh, Sai, and Kaja. And Kaja likes to start with some quotes. So this is his quote: "You cannot evolve unless you're willing to change." Okay, this is me. So I have been in, I have already introduced before, but for the sake of you guys, I have been in QA for a long time. I have tried many other roles, but most part of it is in the testing domain. I like to try out new tools. I like to develop frameworks, like try out different frameworks, QA architecture. That's my passion. Okay, overall, this is the agenda for the overall series. We had one session of Ansible. We will have this session and maybe one or two. And then we'll go into Packer and Terraform and whole end-to-end scenarios and other IAC tools. So someone in the questions, they asked, what is the difference between Chef, Ansible, and Puppet? Just want you guys to let you know, our company has acquired Chef last week. We have no idea about that. So soon, maybe we will give a session on Chef. Once the whole acquisition is complete, we will have more access to all the developers everywhere. It's public now, so I can talk about that. Okay. So in this chapter, last week when I'm demoing, a few of them asked. So just to let you know, I have few of my colleagues here. They are very knowledgeable in this whole IAC concept also. So they can answer some of the questions. So questions are sometimes distracting for me during. But if you have some issue, if you can't hear me properly, you can speak out directly. If not, just mute yourself. So last session, I just showed you glimpses of it. Someone asked me, how do you install it? So I didn't show it there. So I'll start from there. I'll start from the installation. How do you install? How easy it is? How do you configure? And Ansible is based on YAML. So what is YAML? What does it do? And the basics of the YAML. We'll go through basics of YAML, and then again, the real Ansible directory structure. How do you lay out your whole projects? How can you structure them for modularity, for ease of use? So that's what the topics will be. So let's start with the installation. So last week I mentioned Ansible the server runs on Unix machine only. Host can be anything. Please, can you mute yourself if you're not asking any questions? There's some background voice. So the server should be Unix. Host can be any machine. The host can be any kind of machines, combinations of machines, but the server, you should have one Unix machine, which is the server. And to install Ansible, it's straightforward. If you don't know about package managers, just type yum or chocolatey or DNF. This is just like a bundle of packages. If you want Ansible, you just say install Ansible and you get the whole package. And if Ansible needs Python, it will get that first and then get the Ansible. So it's like a package of things. And it takes like a couple of seconds to get the whole installation ready, which we will go through. There are different package managers for Red Hat distribution. It's DN. Now I think they're moving to DNF, but YAML and DNF primarily. For Ubuntu and all, it's apt-get, pip works. Windows, it's chocolatey. There might be many more coming up, many more package managers out there. Ansible modules require Python, but Ansible gets it. Most of the Unix machines, they come with Python now, so that shouldn't be a problem. Once you install, you will have the configuration file in etc Ansible. This is the default location of the configuration file and the host file. And so let's we will do, we won't wait for the end for the demo. We can do like slide by slide. What I'll do here is so whatever we did, we will try it out. Install Ansible. Okay. So it just goes and checks for the latest version. It says, I found out these things. Should I install this? And it's like Python thing, libsodium, and other module, other packages that it needs. And it's done. So now you have.
Is it possible to increase the font?
Okay, I am on 18. Are you looking from your mobile?
Okay, all right.
Okay, that's how the issue with the font. I mean, if I can increase it a bit, but it occupies the whole thing, whole screen. I'll try 20. Kaja.
Yeah, as long as others are fine. I'm looking from the mobile, so yeah, it could be that.
Okay, so I increased it to 20 now. If you still have issues, just let me know. What happens is when I increase too much, I can't have a separate side-by-side screens to show how it's happening. So
yeah, sure. Carry on. Yeah.
Now I have Ansible here. I just do version and I should have the latest. So that's straightforward. And if you want to remove it, say like Ansible, sorry, yum remove Ansible, and it goes ahead and deletes. So that's straightforward. Okay, and once you install Ansible, you will have two files. A configuration file, ansible.cfg, in etc, where am I? In etc Ansible. That's the default path. And the host file. These two will come for you. So I already installed. Okay, it's clean now. So let's look at config file. So config file, by default, if you're trying out small things, you don't have to touch anything. It has details on what your inventory file should be. That's the host file. If it's a host file, if it's in the default path, you don't have to touch anything, change anything. If you want the name to be different, if you want it in a different location, then you should come here and change the location. For example, if you want to say inventory underscore Red Hat as your host file for to maintain all your Red Hat machines, then you change the file, configuration file. There are other things which we will go through, all other parameters, but by default, you don't need to touch this if you're basic to intermediate user. If it's advanced, there are many things there. So I installed it here. Now I have Ansible core.cfg and host file. Those are the things. So by default, when I run any YAML file, it looks for the current folder for the config file. If it doesn't find, then it goes to etc Ansible. That's how it is. Or you can also specify it as a variable. Ansible underscore CFG is the variable, I think. Yeah. So that's how it is. And we talked about a host file. It's my next thing. So host can be ungrouped host, grouped hosts or ranges. Ungrouped is like if you are like just working on one machine, you just give the IP address of that machine. And if you are working on a collection, like set of Linux machines, set of Windows machines, you can group them like with a with open parentheses. You can group them, and you can have patterns if your company follows a specific pattern, then you can use the patterns to specify your host. So there are different ways, and once you configure, you just have to, if you want to make sure it's all running, you should specify your credentials. In future sessions, I can talk about how to encrypt them all. There are like tools like Vault to protect your passwords. So we can talk about that in future sessions. So this is my host file. What I said was I have a server second. I just grouped it in one thing. I have only one, but still said like created a group called servers, and this is my machine. And I provide it's like raw way of doing. I provided the connection parameters here, and that's how it can be. And now if I say Ansible all -m ping. If it checks all the hosts and if it's like able to successfully ping connect, then it says like it gives a success message. That's how you check once you configure your hosts. To cover here. That's on the host. So basics of Ansible. Ansible is like Ansible playbooks are written in YAML format. So YAML is like it's ain't another markup language. That's the full form. It's a superset of JSON, but it's much more readable than JSON. If you have seen XML or JSON, it still have a lot of braces and all, but this is like much more readable, and it's a superset. I didn't try out. They said like you can compile JSON files using YAML. It's like a superset, more simple to understand, more easy. If you want to start with Ansible, so you should indent with spaces, not tabs. It's very strict there. So it annoys you if you're using a VI editor or anything like, for example, let me start here. And here, so last week we have looked at this script. Even a small syntax, I'll just remove a spacing here. And you cannot Ansible playable. It just gives you an error. It's very strict there. So if you're trying it for the first time, use any of the editors like VS Code or Atom. They are plugins for Ansible, YAML. And it gives you the error right when you're typing it, if you have done some mistake there. So it's better to use some of the editors. I use VS Code. VS Code is good, but there are many other editors there. Now it should work. Thing that I don't want to do there. So when you're starting, just you need to know basic. There are many things when you go deep, but there are three kinds of variables. If you know them, most of the Ansible 50%, you can do it 50-70%. They are like scalar variables, which are like just the name value pairs. And then there are like list where you can specify a list. And the third one is like a dictionary, like a hash. Those are the three things that you need to know if you are starting with Ansible or YAML. And YAML files optionally begins with, if you look at some of the Ansible playbooks, they all start with triple dots, most of them. That's like YAML syntax, but even if you don't put the dots, it doesn't affect anything. It just, that's their, well, that's their way of doing it. It starts with 3 dots and ends with 3 dots, the YAML file, but it's not mandatory. Anything, so regular, whatever, like other Java languages say, variable should start with a letter, it cannot have spaces. All those are like similar to other programming languages, nothing specific. Okay, and if you have to define variables, where's is the thing. We can look at one of the sample script. Okay, we are basic. What I have here is like same. I mentioned my host thing. That's the first thing you should mention. Where should this happen? Yeah, I don't. If someone has missed the last session, that's the first thing you have to. Once you configure the host thing, you have to specify the host machine, the host. What host do you want to act on? You have to specify that part here during the start. And all variables are declared within the vars with the vars thing. So under vars, you should declare your variables. I have some variables here. I can also add a dictionary if you want to see how a dictionary looks like. We can go here. So first, let's run this, and then we can add a dictionary. I said this is my variables, and I'm saying I'm using Ansible module, debug module. So just print. Debug module is for printing things. So the variable should be, if you want to print the value of the variable, it should be double parentheses. This is the syntax. So I'm printing my name, and it's just the second one, third one from the participant. So I will do Ansible playbook. Yeah, it printed my name there and the third item from the list. This is all like extra things that I enabled in the configuration file, which I'll talk about. I want to understand how much time my Ansible is taking when I'm doing these operations, just to see like if I can fine tune anything. So we'll talk about this. I added like extra things there. So we can also add a dictionary here. The indentation should be proper. So we can address. It's always spaces. If you try to indent, nothing works. That's why I said use like an editor. That's much better. But like you have to copy paste and also and just use two things. So I have an address thing, which house number and the street. And let me, oh, sorry. Copy this and paste. And I want address dot host number maybe. Oops. Right, let's running the same thing. So my house number is 1. I just only paste only like printing the just the value. I can say my host number is 1, then that kind of thing. So that's the basics of YAML. As you go through, you can do a lot of other things. But to start with, playbook, place, tasks, variables, this should take you up to that part, 30, 40%, 50% of all your work. So a little more details, other details on like the basics are done. So you also need like loops, error handling, loops, conditions. So we can look at them basics and then go into details. So, so gather facts is whenever I do something, whenever I connect to a machine, not this one, it goes and gathers lot of facts. Those are all again the variables, a lot of facts of that machine. See that took the max amount of time, 3.31 seconds. Others are like pretty fast. Whatever operations you do here, I'm not doing it. But even if you connect to remote thing and do things, they are pretty fast. But gathering facts, it took 3 seconds because there are like lot of facts that it gathered about the remote host, like the operating system, IP address, architecture, lot of things. If you look at Ansible gather facts, it gives you like a 40, 50 kind of facts that it gathers. So we can look at why it's important. Like I can give you an example. Anyone has a question? Or so when you're like want to install something, you want to say like if the operating system is Ubuntu, do these things. If the operating system is Red Hat, do this. So how do you know? I mean, if you know it and you configure the host that way, that's a different story. But if you don't know, if you have a list of IP addresses, then it goes checks whether it's like Red Hat. If yes, it will install. That is done by gather facts. I don't I have. Okay, I just printed here Ansible OS family. So let's run this. Okay, here. So Red Hat. My family is like what I'm trying to do. My remote machine, which is my other one, this one. It went and gathered the facts and it said that Red Hat. So what happens is when you write a playbook, by default, gather facts is turned on. So if you don't specify anything, it is turned on. So if you don't want to gather facts to save some time, you should explicitly say like, do not gather facts. Gather facts equal to false. That's all. So now let's run this and see what it says. I'm asking for the OS family, but I'm not gathering facts there. So it just gave me another is undefined Ansible OS family. What it does is once it gathers the facts, it fills all these variables with the values. Right now it cannot because those variables are not filled. So if you don't know whether you want the facts, you can leave them. You don't have to specify anything and it gathers facts. But if you say like, oh, this looks like taking a lot of time, I know what machines and I don't need any of these facts about the remote, you just don't have to specify this. You just have to say false you have to explicitly say false. There are a lot of other things, like if you Google for gather facts, there are a lot of facts that it gathers. Sometimes you need, sometimes you don't, depending on how you can do. So loops are like you have where conditions, you have loops and all, like any other operating systems, we don't have to events you. Whenever you need them, you can just go ahead and try them out. For example, in our first session, what we did was we installed HTTPD. Okay, now, for example, we have to install 10 things. I don't have to call this module, M module 10 times. I can pass it as a variable and I can loop through them saying, I want HTTPD installed, I have Ansible installed, that way. So we can go to, I think we have, yeah, I'm not typing everything to save some time, but if you want to try out how to do this, it's just like, this is what we have in the session one, the script. You just have to parameterize this part. And same thing, if you want to parameterize, you just have to tuck. And then you just loop it here. I want HTTPD and I want, okay, I need a space here. And I want Ansible. And then it looks through all those things. Ansible, playbook, script. I think I have both of them installed on the remote ones. Just now we installed Ansible also. So it just says okay for, it should stay okay for both of them. That's all. It looked through and it said like, okay, I have them both. I have them latest. I'm not doing anything. I'm coming out. If I uninstall one of this, and run the come to this place, so I don't have HTTPD. I installed. Running the same again. Now it's taking some time, but it's it's pulling all the things. It says changed, which means I didn't find HTTPD. I have installed. Ansible is there. It's the latest, so I didn't do anything there. I checked. So we talked about this in the last session. Idempotency, how 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 it looks for everything. It's like you shouldn't give the steps. You just like say like what should be the state. That's all. I said state is latest, so it goes and checks. And if it's not latest, it goes and gets it. There are other things you can do. State present if you don't want, if there is something installed there, some version of HTTPD, and if you don't want to touch, you should just say state as present. Sometimes that's important to say present instead of latest, because you might need a particular version which is already installed. You don't want to touch it and get the latest. That changes the state of the thing. So you should be careful in defining like whether you want the latest or whether you want the present. You want to make sure it's there. Some version is there. Depending on it, you should do that. And then there are like and you can also do a when loop, like run this command only when the Ansible family is Red Hat. So that's like checking it. You can have like different loops saying that when family is Ubuntu, run this. When family is sometimes across Unix operating systems, they're like slightly change, command slightly change. So that's when you use this kind of thing. So by default, gather facts is true. I didn't mention anything. That's why this will work. If I go ahead and turn off, this won't work. Or so I know that I have a Red Hat. My remote system is Red Hat. So if I go ahead and say Ubuntu here, this should fail. I mean, this should not run. Playbook is, oops, right? Yeah, it skipped it because it's not the same thing. That's one of the state. If I change it to Red Hat, it will go and run that thing. Yeah, skipping, execute the script. It's skipping because the OS, this OS is different. It's not Ubuntu. So that's loops, conditions. Error handling is, we can go to, we have a run a script command that we looked at in last thing. So I'm saying this go to remote thing and copy this test.sh file and change the permission and run the script. I actually have a test.sh, not test1.sh. So this should fail. So when a module fails, Ansible just comes out. It doesn't execute the next module. But sometimes even if a module fails, you want to run it, right? So that's when you can say ignore errors. So this one I can first run and see what it says. Ansible playbook, run a script. I have a test.sh here if you see, but I said copy test1.sh. So it's not able to find that file. It just came out, didn't do the next ones. Now, if I go here, oops. It should be at this level. I said ignore errors equal to true. So there was an error, but it ignored and it went ahead and did the other two things. So that's what the error handling is about. So we can wait for questions after this one. And right now we are writing everything in one file, but I can also move variables to a different file, move the only task to a different file, and then call them separately. So for example, I have a variables.yaml file where I say I have defined few variables, name, location, and country. Similarly, I have tasks in one file where I'm just printing OS family, right? These are two different files. Now, I'm including them in another file, say if you want to call variables, it should be include underscore vars. This is a module, so it should be in tasks. If you write it anywhere else, you'll get an error. So previously I was when I'm starting with it, oh, this is a variable. Why can't I put in var section? It doesn't work. It should be, it's a module. Include vars is a module, include tasks is a module. So it should be in the task section. So if you want to call variables, it should be include underscore vars. Import is, I think, deprecated. Import underscore vars should also work, but I think they're deprecating that. If it tasks, include underscore tasks. What it does is it first takes all these variables. So what I'm saying is print the variable my name, which I defined here, and it runs this task, whatever is there, and prints the OS family. That's how we should include. This is the whole power. I'll show you why this is all important when I show you the whole Ansible directory structure. Okay, so Ansible playbook includes.yaml. So it went it did all the printing, whatever I have here. So this should be here. If you say like, I will put it here, it just does not work. Even if you try, it just gives an error. Okay. So that's on the includes. So the last one here, there are many more things, but these are the basic things that you might need. And where, as you start, you might have a scenario where you might need something else. Then you can just query and get them. As we go through also, if we need something, we will cover them. If we need more things. The last one is handlers. So this is same as like, if you know event handlers in Java, that's same thing. So what we did here is in our first session, I said go and install and these things and then start, right? But if by any chance, if they are not installed, I don't have to do this. So I can write a handler and say like only install when these two are like done. So I can notify when these are done, and then I can do the operation. That's that. Handlers part. So to make it simple, I can just so now I'll say here once this is done, notify this task. The task can be ensure Apache is running, right? Okay. And then I should have a handlers. Let's run and see what happens here. So host server, something we didn't, it's definitely some indentation that we missed.
Spelling handler.
Thanks. Thanks, Brahma. Okay, good. Yeah, so it went ahead and since it's latest, it's already there. It just goes and execute this. And if it's somehow was not able to install, it doesn't have to run this. So it will skip this part. Same as event handlers in Java. The handlers part, you need them just to ensure that when you have this all in a large environment, you need all these checks to make sure you're doing this properly. So I'll pause for a second. Any questions so far? These are the basics. Now we can, I'll just go through this also. Like last session, someone asked what are the different task status. So these are the main ones that I found out. There might be one or two more. We have seen OK status. When it goes ahead and does it, it gives a OK. No, if when it goes ahead and checks, it didn't do anything, the state is the current, or it didn't do any modifications, it just do okay, no changes for me. Change is when there's a change, fail is when it fails, unreachable. Skipped is like example when you have a condition and it skips that module, it skips and ignore. Those are the main task statuses when you're running them. So these are all the status. Okay, we might have seen skipped and other things changed. All the status. Okay. So any questions before we go to the next ones? We can take at the last also. Okay, cool. We can cover this. So that's like all last session, this session, whatever I showed you is like if you want to try out things, try out simple things in Ansible. That's how you do it. But you are seriously, if you have like several machines you have to configure, several roles that you have to do. Ansible suggests a structure for the whole thing, for your roles, your whole playbooks. So that if you follow, you can achieve a lot of modularity, you can avoid a lot of duplication. You can organize everything. You can have a separate thing for variables, modules as a separate task, as a separate thing, handlers as a different thing, files. It gives you the whole structure. Like for any framework, that's important, right? If you don't have the structure defined, it's like all becomes random. So Ansible gives you the structure. This is the structure Ansible suggests. And if you follow this, it makes your life very, very easy. I'll tell you why it's easy. Right now, I showed you like when I want to include a variable, I should have to say like give the name and all. But this makes it very, very, very easy. So here, common is a role that I have, and it will have tasks, handlers, templates, files. By default, these are the folders. You can go and say, for now, I only need tasks, handlers, variables, and files. Other things I don't need, you can skip them. But there is an Ansible Galaxy. I'll talk about Ansible Galaxy. I think I gave a brief, I talked briefly on Ansible Galaxy. It's a collection of lot of Ansible modules. So Ansible Galaxy init common, it will create the whole structure for you. Like for example, if I say, where am I here? So it's so in the roles here, I have role 1 and role 2. I'll come here and say Ansible Galaxy init web servers. Okay, whole web server is created. So if you see that I have a web server folder, let's see what it has. I will print the tree structure of it. So inside web server, I have defaults, a main.ml handlers, all this has been created for you. So you won't do any mistakes this way, or you can manually go and say like, this is my role, create it and create this directory, create a main.ml, and that works too. But this is easy for me. I'll just leave the other ones as empty. Whatever I want, I'll start using. Right? So why is this? Why do you need this? So I have an example. We can also go and create this. In your organization, your task is to you install web servers, app servers, and databases, or something, Java and other things. Or you have 3 sets of operating system, Linux, Windows, AX. So you want to install specific things on Linux and configure it a different way. You want to install specific things on Windows, configure it a different way. So you have a role defined at the top level. This is your main thing, servers folder. Here you have the main playbooks. You can have separate playbooks for your web server, app server, and DB servers. Or you can have one playbook for all. And in each one, you have a structure that I defined that we just created. And it has all the tasks and everything there. This is the structure inside. I said web servers. So this is web servers, and I have tasks and everything. You can create each of these roles and then create your main thing. So let's see how it looks when we do it. Someone unmuted. Can you mute, please? So let's go to session 2. I don't have any roles here. It's all like thing. So here I have my HTTP server is a role. So let's do the roles here. So web servers has been created. Let's go to web servers. I have all this cd task ls. I have a main.ml, right? So when I have this structure, let's do a small thing in main.ml. Let's open main.ml to write everything. Suppose I know I have servers, and I'll just print a task. That's all. My module name is debug. I'm printing it. We will print the same thing. Ansible is family. I think that's what it is. Okay. So I'm here inside the web servers role tasks. There is a main.ml. I just added a small thing there. That's all. So I'll come back to the main place, which is basic. So I went here inside web servers. In this, I went to task folders, and I have a debug task, a debug module. I'm calling a debug module there. Now I'm back to this place. So I need to create a playbook now, right? I'll create, I'll create a something main playbook.yaml. All I have to so I'll explain. I said web servers. Yeah, that's what I said. So what I'm saying is, in here, I'm here. I have this role, web servers role. Just call this. That's all I'm doing. So what it does is it goes and goes into the tasks folder, which is here, checks for if it can find a main.yaml, and it calls. So it's simple. You're not, let's see if it executes. Let's execute and see if it works. Hopefully it should work. Okay. Print. Debug. I did something. Maybe I shouldn't specify the host there. C, CD web servers, task. Yeah. That all looks good, right? Let's
Hyphen space name, Srini. I think that might be there.
okay. Where did I not put hyphens? When it, where were you saying hyphen space name? Oh, okay. Yeah. And here, I didn't have a space. I thought of copying this since. Thank you. Okay. I might be doing something.
Debug is not intended.
Yeah, debug.
Right. So that's why I use a editor like VS Code. So if you have something like this, if there is something wrong, it just gives you an error. Copy paste things. I didn't want to do copy paste. Ansible hyphen playbook. Do I need host name? So what it does is final. Let me check the final one. Okay, it still needs it somewhere. Let's. I did a host role Apache Backhell ls Apache task list. Oh, it doesn't even, when you put it here, you doesn't even need a task thing. It's a task file. Let's see, one simple thing. Web server task. Okay, so it's a task folder. You just have to specify the task there. So it printed my message. WD. So what I did was more, right? I only said call this role. So it went into this folder. In the task, whatever is there, it called. So task can call some variables from task might be calling some things from here. So it goes, if it has a variables like defined, it goes and checks the main.yaml here. And if it has handlers that we talked about, it goes and checks here. If it has a files, it goes to the files thing. So by default, it knows where to check. If they're different, if it's not main.yaml, then you need to call them. Like if variables, If you keep some other name, then you need to call it, include it. If not, by default, it calls main.ml. If yours is simple, you can directly call them. It directly calls, you can put them in main.ml. And so we saw how variables can be defined in a separate file, right? Now in the main.ml, I can define variable, and I don't have to call it here as long as it's main.ml. We can also try that. What's the time? Oh, 27. Simple thing we can try. I'll go to web server. I have tasks, variables. I'll go to variable. I have a main.yaml. Say, give this my name, Srinivas. Okay, I'll go to tasks now. Main.yaml. I said my name. pwd. So it printed my name. I didn't. In tasks, I'm printing a variable, but I didn't specify where it is. So by default, it goes into this folder main.ml and it includes them. But if this name is different, it cannot find that. Then you have to include and everything. In the previous example, what we did was we have explicitly included variables. Now, if I follow this structure, I don't have to include anything. It just knows where to find things. So that's the power, so that everyone knows. If you are one team, another team wants to come and see, like you have a big Ansible project. If you don't have this structure defined, you will do your own things. You will have a utilities folders to create utilities. You can define however you are like comfortable with. This forces you to have the structure in everything in a similar way. So you won't go wrong here. If another team comes and wants to look at your thing, they know exactly where to go to look for things. They don't have to search, oh, where is this calling? How is this calling? Any other framework you have defined. If I go ahead and look, like if you have a framework defined, and if I go and look at your framework, it takes some time to understand the structure, how the flow is happening. Here, that's not the case. You know the structure. If you follow Ansible way, this is how it is. There is no other thing, and that makes it very, very easy. We can go into more deep into next sessions, how this helps, how can we define, create the whole site thing, how can we define it, kind. But that's the power of Ansible. Here you just say role web servers, then you can say app servers. There are a lot of combinations that you can do. Okay, so you can start playing if you have access. Khaja, I think, tried to create some Unix boxes, but I don't know, we didn't do. We will try if we can provide some Unix boxes, but if you have some Unix box, you need just one machine. If you want to connect to Windows, I didn't cover. I can cover in next session how to connect to Windows hosts from Unix. I think that's all I have. I did a running demo. Any questions I can take now? Yes, anything that's like a dictionary. Under task, whatever you do, that's the dictionary format. Yes, that's how Ansible does it. Debugging. Keyword. Debug is a module, right? You're talking about this one. Have. So this one you're talking about. Anything under tasks is a module. Ansible has hundreds of modules there. Maybe someone answered it, but hundreds of modules. This is a module. So look at like go to Google and say Ansible modules or Ansible debug module. This is just to print when you're developing, when you have some issues, you want to do some debugging, you will use this. Or if you want to print something to output, you will do that. You will use this. So debug is a module. I think this I answered. This is the YAML format you don't need. I didn't use it anywhere. I did not use ... but YAML suggests that start with ... every file so that everyone knows it's an YAML file. We don't have to use it. I'm not using it anywhere. So, oh, if you got command not found, can you try DNF? I think DNF should be, okay, I don't have DNF. I have M. Do I have apt? I have apt. So try apt get. Well, is that the command? Oh, okay. Apt install Ansible. I did something wrong here. What is the install thing for Ansible? So you can try other things. You can install Ansible, yum other ways, and you can try it out. One of this should work. Yum, DN, RPM. Yeah, you can try RPM. RPM is the old one. That's from Red Hat. Long back, since long back, we have RPM, but I don't know if it's RPM install or in or minus install. I didn't use them lately, but one of this option, try them. They should be available. One of them should be available. I will do. There are like all these modules, error modules. I will try out in the next session things. More error handling, more YAML syntax. Okay, someone did it. Sudo apt-get should work. If it wait. Apt-get mostly is for Ubuntu, I think. So I don't know if Linux, Red Hat, I have CentOS here. So it should be there. Just try them out. Oh, Mac. Anyone tried? If Divya, anyone from tried on Mac? We can try and see what package managers does Mac have. We come out of this meeting. RPM install Ansible. You should find it. Yeah, this homebrew is another very popular. Pip is one. Pip is very popular. Apple has, it should have some proprietary. Apple is little strict in getting all these things Mac. So we should try it out. We can try. A couple of us have Macs, so we can try out Mac and let you know. I never tried. Yum and other things I tried, it works. Maybe they are not default. I thought Yum is being replaced with DNF. Okay. Any other things you can directly talk also? We want to know calling set of tasks with dictionaries, set of tasks within dictionary. I can try this out, Shiva. I'll try this out. Set of dictionary. We can try this. We can try. Okay, I think. So if there is nothing, you can mail me, you can post me, LinkedIn, anywhere if you have more things. I'll try to copy all this into my Git repository again. Last time I shared, I think if you go to github.com, there is 90 here, 1975, you can, I'll try to share them here under IAC demos. I will do that. I didn't do for the current session. If you want to try them out. Okay. So I'm stopping the presentation recording.